Hello friends. The 28th of June 1914, a 19-year-old student at a school assassinates the Austro-Hungarian prince. And this one incident triggered the war, a war that lasted 4 years in which more than 20 million people lost their lives. A war in which several ancient empires came to an end, a war that was fought across multiple countries and continents. Today, we know of this war as the World War I. Doesn't it sound very sensational? Because of this one single event, World War I broke across the world. If we could go back to the past in a time machine and if we could prevent this assassination, would there be no world wars in the world? The reality isn't this simple, friends. When there's a large-scale war like this, there is a long and complex chain of reasons driving it. And then there's one such incident that causes a spark. Imagine if there's a mountain of dynamites here and I use a small matchstick to blow up the entire mountain. The following blast would not be because of my matchstick. There was a mountain of dynamite there, that's why it happened. Come, in today's video, let's understand World War I. In the year 1914, Europe looked like this on a map. There was an Austro-Hungarian Empire in the middle. The empire was much bigger than the present size of the countries Austria and Hungary. Germany's empire was also much bigger than present-day Germany. Poland wasn't a country. There was the Russian Empire in Russia. There was the Ottoman Empire in present-day Turkey. Apart from these, there was the United Kingdom and France. It's interesting to know, friends, most of the European countries were monarchies at the time. There were rulers in those places. In fact, there were only 3 European countries that were democracies rather than monarchies: France, Switzerland and San Marino. There are some countries in Eastern Europe such as Serbia, Bosnia, Romania, and Bulgaria, collectively called the Balkan countries. Don't forget them, they're very important for our story. We will begin our story from the year 1878. There was a war between the Russian Empire and the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire was on one side and the Russian Empire on the other, helping the Balkan countries separate from the Ottoman Empire. At the conclusion of the war, the Treaty of Berlin was signed in 1878. According to this treaty, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was given the right to administer the region of Bosnia-Herzegovina temporarily. But the area would officially be a part of the Ottoman Empire. But in October 1908, the Austro-Hungarian Empire annexed Bosnia-Herzegovina, invaded there. This political caricature from then is very interesting. The Ottoman Sultan, with his folded hands, is feeling helpless because of the internal problems in the Ottoman Empire. There were internal revolutions. During this time, Bulgaria successfully separated from the Ottoman Empire, represented as the independent state in the middle. On the left, you can see the Austrian Emperor, Franz Joseph, is trying to steal Bosnia-Herzegovina. He is ripping it out of the map to steal it. The region of Bosnia-Herzegovina was under the Ottoman Empire for 400 years, but instead of getting independence, another empire came in and captured them. Obviously, the people of Bosnia were enraged at this. They wanted freedom. People in the neighboring country Serbia were also infuriated at seeing this happen. The Serbians didn't only have a geographical connection with the Bosnians, they even had an ethnic connection. Actually, all the Eastern European countries have the ethnicity of Slavs. Many people living in these countries feel this connection. In fact, if you look at the bottom of the map, the countries in dark blue, the people in these countries call themselves South Slavs. Many people in these countries even demanded a South Slavic nation. Serbia complained that the Austro-Hungary Empire wasn't merely invading Bosnia, rather, they were invading the South Slavs. Before capturing the country, the foreign minister of Austria-Hungary had already spoken with the Russian foreign minister, asking Russia to refrain from objecting to it as they were giving them prior intimation of their capture. And Russia agreed to them, because Russia wanted something in return. Look at this map. This is the Black Sea. And the Sea of Marmara is in the south. The Strait of Bosphorus joins the two, and dividing Istanbul into two. This part belonged to the Ottoman Empire, and Russia wanted to have this. So Russia told the Austro-Hungarian Empire that Russia would annex the region, and so they shouldn't oppose them. And Russia wouldn't say anything either when they capture Bosnia. A good deal. But there was a problem. The problem was that many Slavic people lived in Russia, and many Russians started protesting the invasion of Bosnia. How could they agree to the Austro-Hungarian Empire getting control of Slavic people? The Russian Empire was already weak. It had to abide by the wishes of the people. So despite the secret agreement, the Russian foreign minister started supporting Serbia. It was 1909, the Austro-Hungarian Empire turned towards Germany and asks them, if they capture Serbia and Russia comes to interfere, would Germany help the Austro-Hungarian Empire? Germany agrees to help them as they were old friends. They definitely help. On the other hand, Russia asks France. Austro-Hungarian Empire had first invaded Bosnia, and when Serbia objected to it, the Austro-Hungarian Empire and Germany had joined forces to attack Serbia. Russia proposed that France should join its forces with Russia to fight against them. But France replies that it has nothing to do with Bosnia. Regardless of what happened, they didn't want to interfere in the matter. France's refusal silenced Russia, and it had to accept the annexation of Bosnia. With this, the threat of a war, the threat of world war ensuing, passes. But then comes the assassination of Ferdinand. The thing was that, the Bosnians that were annexed, the Bosnians didn't accept that meekly. The Bosnians wanted freedom. A new revolutionary movement had begun. It is named the Young Bosnia. It was a revolutionary group of students, and the Serbians were helping them. They aimed to build an independent country. In fact, not only did they aim to free Bosnia-Herzegovina, but also to unite with Serbia. They wanted to build a united South Slavic nation. Yugoslavia. What a beautiful name, Yugoslavia. Yugo means south. An apt term for a South Slavic country. Spoiler alert, it did become a reality later on. Although, by now, the country has broken apart too. But anyway, on the 28th of June 1914, the Prince of Austro-Hungary, Ferdinand, with his wife, Sophie, went to visit the annexed territory in Bosnia. They wanted to travel through the newly acquired territory, but soon that caused much suffering to them. 6 Bosnian revolutionaries planned to assassinate them. Around 10 in the morning, a revolutionary named Kabrinović threw a bomb near Ferdinand's car. But the bomb bounced on the car and blew up in a side street, injuring 20 people. Ferdinand escaped this. The meeting he was headed to was then cancelled because of the shock and tells the Bosnian mayor that they decided to cancel the program and go to the hospital to meet the injured people. On the way to the hospital, their car takes a wrong turn mistakenly. When they tried to get back to the correct route, they realized that actually, they were a mere 5 feet away from a revolutionary. A 19-year-old school student. Gavrilo Princip. I talked about him at the beginning of the video. This was the person to shoot at Ferdinand and his wife Sophie, and so assassinated the prince of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Gavrilo Princip was arrested immediately, but he was 2 months short of 20 years. And so, according to the law, he couldn't be given the death sentence. Gavrilo was sentenced to 20 years in jail for this assassination. During the trial, he said that he was a Yugoslav nationalist, that he aimed to unite the Yugoslavs. But it didn't matter to him which state would Yugoslav be a part of. But during the trials, he wanted that Bosnia should be free from Austria. The Emperor of the Austro-Hungarian Empire is enraged at the assassination. In his anger, I hope you found the video informative. Please subscribe my channel. Let's meet in the next part of the video. Thank you very much.